this made smoother than your smoothest criminal. Shamo, about that money, what we get into. Shamo, about that money, get residuals. Shamo.
What it do, people? You're now tuned in.
Popovich.
Popovich
TV. Oh yeah.
We live, we rolling, we unscripted, we authentic, that feeling back up in here one more again. So if it's your first time, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. To everybody else, you already know. Tony, there was no other way. We in the end game now. Unfortunately, yesterday I believe, I'm seeing maybe like 2 or 3, maybe even 3 or 4 channels with the news of AssaTa ShaKur passing away. You know what I mean? In Cuba, obviously, you know, legendary. For those that know the history, I did have the privilege of reading her autobiography. When I was locked up, I read it twice actually. Read it when I was 20 years old, 21 I believe, and then I read it again when I was like 29, right? You know, y'all know the history, allegedly, maybe kind of, sort of, you know, pow the cop. They try to, you know, railroad her, broke out of prison, escaped to Cuba, you know, and been living over there ever since. People do, some people, not a lot, confuse her with Afina ShaKur, which is Tupac's mom's. But AssaTa ShaKur is like Pop's, Pac, like his auntie, stepmoms, you know, in that vein. Obviously her brother's Matula ShaKur, who Tupac also, you know, shouted out. He also passed recently too. I want to say last year, or maybe even like 3 years ago. Can't keep track of everything, but I do know he helped Lou from my block with some legal work, help him you know, sort through some things, and I believe I got the message from him saying that he passed. So maybe it's like 2 years ago, 3. I could have just Googled it, but I didn't. But I know he passed. I know she just passed. And, you know, real quick, me and I be speaking about Pop, her not being his mom's, but like the stepmoms, obviously the history of being a Black Panther, also being part of the BLA, which is the Black Liberation Army, etc. Told y'all I met Herman Bell and Comstock, etc. But on that Machiavelli album, which is, in my opinion, one of Pac's best albums, with a Hail Mary, and come with me, Hail Mary, run quick, see, what do we have here now? Do you want to ride or die? La da 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 da. That ride or die comes from, you know, a lot of times back then, right? When we really knew who the enemy was. I think we know who the enemy is now, but with all of but you're black. The black on black crime and shit that we be doing, the fuckery we do to each other, the waters get muddled. And it's like, damn, who really is the enemy? You know what I mean? Until you see a brother get hung in Mississippi and what have you, or you see these, you know, red flags, if you will, pop up out of nowhere. And you're like, oh, this shit do remind me of who we really should be putting our energy towards. But anyway, back then they knew. They stuck together, they rolled together, and a lot of times when you got in the car with them, Black Panther, you know, Party, the BLA, Black Liberation Army, etc., people of that cloth and that cloak, right? They was ready to pop off if they got pulled over by the police. So that term, ride or die, comes from that. Comes from like, yo, you gonna ride or you gonna die? Because if they pull us over, they ain't asking no questions really. They kicking, you know, they taking us out the car, they doing us how they want to, and on these back blocks and these roads, on these, you know, streets where it ain't no lights and they could just do whatever they want in the name of the law, right? We'd rather take our chances with our own, you know what I mean, ride or die, pop one of them, and I'm not saying that that's right. What I'm saying is I respect that they knew what they was dealing with,
how they went about doing it, and how they try to teach others, and even give you an out. Like, yo, if you get in this car, this is what we doing. We riding and dying. We riding, we not dying. So if you roll with us, even though we just going to the rally, even just, we just dropping you off, we letting you know that if the pigs on, and I always quote the skit from Rick Ross album, which is Teflon Don. You got the feeling on that song when it's like Huey P. Newton says, and we need to get organized, right? So when the pig get the jiving with you, and the pig get wrong, you pull your guns out, you blow him away. I still to this day, that's one of my favorite albums by Rick Ross, and that's one of my favorite skits, and obviously Huey P. Newton is another, hero, legend, you know what I mean? In my book, if you know, you know. If you know your history, then you should go. If you don't know your history, then you should go read, you know what I mean? Go do a little searching. There's nothing wrong with that. Being smart and educated in today's time that's the best you can do, is arm yourself with, information and knowledge, and then act upon it. Because we know that, knowledge without action is useless. You can have a gun all day, but if somebody attacks you and you don't use it, then it's useless. So, knowledge, then acting upon said knowledge. But, back then, this is the rhetoric that they was pushing, right? Stand together, who's the pig? They knew they knew the laws. Have you seen the Black Panther, the movie, and it's different versions, etc. But those brothers just wasn't walking around holding rifles and, holding assault weapons, etc., walking the street ignorant to the law. They knew the law. They was educated. They was fierce. They was brave. They was courageous. Some may look at them like, nah, they was, going against the government, or they was radicalized, or, what have you. And she was one of them, you know what I mean? Whether she did what she did or not. The spin side of that, if you know the history, is that she went over to Cuba, right, before, I think, I want to say 5 years ago, or during 2020, or maybe even before the pandemic hit us, or maybe it was after. Certain things just don't stick out in my mind like that, where they lifted the ban or whatever, and then they was trying to go get her again. But America and Cuba never really kind of seen eye to eye, and if they did, it was years ago. Obviously, Castro, etc. Anybody that stands up to the big bad wolf is considered a threat. Needs to be neutralized, and they need to be villainized, so that we can justify what we do to them, to the masses. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, they wanted to extradite her back over here. Cuba was like, nah, they 52 blocked that shit. But just think, as the immigrant wars and, the ICE raids and all that shit take place. Granted, she got asylum there. She went over there, and she went through the proper channels, if you will. So it ain't like she just broke the law, came over there, was in hiding. They knew she was over there. So people might be like, that's a little differently. These people come over here illegally, etc. And it is a clip of this ICE employee. I think this lady husband or her son or somebody got taken away. Inside the ICE building, the ICE officer handled the young lady, threw her to the ground. Real coward move. He did get suspended, should have got fired. You're fired. Should have got him out of here. But anyway, this would take place right here.
I know. Come on, man.
Just handle it. What are we doing? He's a coward. Felt like the Color Purple movie when Mr. was kicking Nettie off the the ranch or whatever, and they was and she threw the rock at him, and you know, whatever she said, I forget what she said. Obviously, an iconic movie, but, and I'm not trying to make a jokey joke or make fun. That's some coward shit, right? And these are the people that's in power. But some would be like, well, you know, they over here illegally, some of them, and they do the most vicious shit. And some of them have done some real vicious, heinous shit over here, right? Setting a lady on fire, etc. You know, doing shit to the kids and all that type of shit. It's not quite the same. But imagine if Cuba would have had that same energy for her back then. But because they wasn't really rocking with America like that, it was like, nah, fuck America. You know what I mean? We sticking it to them. So you did what over there? You killed the woo. You good over here. As long as you stay over here, you good. We not gonna let them extradite you back to America. You know, if you didn't read the book, she got, I think, like two books or even 3 books. But I only read the autobiography. Story is fascinating, obviously. Again, being with the Black Panthers, the Black Liberation Army. You know, I think she got like one daughter or two. Yeah, I think she got one daughter, Katuya, and she passed yesterday. A lot of news, you know, channels, if you will, pages, ain't really spinning this shit like that. And what's his name? Charlie Kirk. He's still spinning in the clip. I know, you know, the Jimmy Kimmel, Donald Trump, they just had the, you know, his services. So he's spinning. He was an American, so he over here, probably more viral videos. And it just goes to show that we lack in certain areas, especially the educational area, where our heroes, you know, people that trailblaze and do the unthinkable. You know what I mean? Get away with it. Show you could be, you know, you could be bold. Because a lot of people are like, yo, if it was slavery, if it was this, I ain't having it, woo, woo, woo. And I believe that for some of us. Some of us with the bullwhip and, you know, doing us dirty the way they did us in front of our people, our, you know, kids, wives, mothers, etc. We would have just took the same thing that some of our ancestors took, and some of us would have died in the ocean, you know, got away, fought back, not turning them motherfuckers, etc. So I get it. But, you know, she should be celebrated more. I'm surprised a lot of channels is not talking about her like that. And again, maybe because she over there, the news cycle, sometimes we just worry about the wrong shit. Cardi B spinning a lot. She's still spinning, you know, Dame Dash, etc. and all that type of shit. But rest in peace to her. Condolences to her family, to her friends. She trailblazed. She showed us how to do it, even from afar. And I think we can learn a lot from her. So if you never read the book, you don't know about her life, I suggest you go look at it. And you know, learn your culture. Learn the prominent people in your culture that stood for something and not just fall for anything. You know what I'm saying?
But y'all know who it is. It's your guy, Popovich. Y'all was just tuned in. Popovich TV. We live, we rolling, we unscripted, we authentic. That feeling back up in here. One more again. Yeah, kid.